This is Yolanda with Behind the Lens with Yolanda Hill Photography, and I am so excited to have my team here today. We are going to talk a little bit about how we all got started in the business, and in the future, I'm going to have guests in the industry of weddings talk about what they do as far as florists, DJs, planners. We're going to visit different venues that are in the area, and they're going to tell us a little bit about what makes them unique in West Palm Beach and the surrounding areas. So today, I thought it would be great to start with my team. In case anybody wants to start in the industry of photography or videography, just a little bit about how we all got started. Everybody has a unique story. So yeah, I don't know who wants to go first.
Kyle?
Sure.
We'll
My name
introduce
is
everybody.
Kyle
This is
Downard.
Kyle, yes.
Yep. So my name is Kyle Downard. I've been a wedding videographer going on almost 10 years. So how I got started is I had a friend that was getting married, and I came home and started researching, watching YouTube videos, and basically doing my research. And then I came back, seen him a couple days later, maybe about a week later, and I was like, I can shoot your wedding. Just give me the opportunity. And he was like, all right, cool. So I knew I had about a year to practice and learn. So I started trying to reach out to anybody and everybody that I think that could give me that value.
Was it hard to find people that would like help you?
In South Florida, absolutely. There's so many people here that are scared about their business and competition. So I ended up actually flying out to LA, working for a studio as an intern, free for about 45 days. And it was just day and night shooting, directing, producing, editing to learn this skill. And I came back, and then I joined a couple of Facebook groups, and I started reaching out and just offering my service as an intern. I was like, I need to, like, hey guys, I'm new to the industry. I'm willing to work, carry your gear, whatever you need me to do. So I was teamed up then by a couple, one gentleman named Brandon. I worked with him for a little bit, and then I ended up meeting another gentleman named Diego Stewart. I ended up interning for him about a year and a half, and from there, I was like, all right, I got this. And I still had my own wedding that I was getting ready to shoot. So what I did is I had their budget, I took it, and then I utilized their funds to get the people that I needed to make the film value.
As best as it could be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And with that, that was where I started. And then just going to networking events, and basically from
Meeting
there.
people and networking pretty much.
Yeah, just I was going to any like network event or anything that was in the West Palm or area, just going and trying to introduce myself. And that's how I got started for that part. And really from there, I've just continued to grow and always continue to try to get better.
That's awesome. I actually have a little different story, kind of the same, but a little different. I actually thought I was going to be a makeup artist. That failed quick. I'm not a makeup artist. I tried that, and then I was trying photography at both at the same time. And then I realized quickly that I was not good at that. And then I started dabbling more into photography, taking my kids out, photographing them at the worst times of the day, like noon, with really harsh lighting, and poor kids were sweating to death, and my dog was really hot and everything because he came with us. And then, I started dabbling into finding people that were local that can help and were willing to, because at first there was a couple of people I reached out to and I got nothing. I would ask like, hey, what camera can I like buy or purchase? Like, what do you suggest? And I would get nothing. So I was like, okay, whatever, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing and keep pushing. And then I found the Palm Beach Guild, which was huge for me because from there I met the most amazing people that were actually willing to help. And we started practicing and learning from each other. And from there, I was learning more about families and newborns and, anything but weddings. I did not want to do weddings because I was pretty much terrified of weddings. I thought I would like mess up somebody's wedding. So I was like, I'm never doing a wedding. And then one day somebody reached out to me and said, pretty much like, Kyle, I need somebody to come out and help and assist. And I was like, okay, I can assist at a wedding. Like, why not? Like,
Get your
I'm going to learn something. So I did. And I loved it. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Still terrified to do a wedding. I was like, no, this is not my thing. After that, same thing at the Guild. Somebody needed a second shooter at a wedding. And I was like, okay, why not? And, you know, I'll forever be thankful for Tom Rollo, if you're watching, from Grace Photography, because he pushed me to the max. So made me cry many times because he was like, you got to do this, and you got to be like this, and you have to, you know everything on manual. You have to learn manual, like no more TTL, no more auto. This is what you're learning, and you're learning off-camera flash. That is what we're doing. No more blowing out the skies. Yep. You're learning how to, you know, master all that. And I was like, okay, whatever you're saying.
Yeah, and I think honestly that's the best, because like my mentors that I've had throughout the years, they would like grind me and tell me that, oh, hey, what are you doing out here? Like this, you know, I know you're so much better than that. And what about this film? And it just recently happened. Like when my mentor came back and he was like, I watched your film, and he was like, what about the white balance? And what about the lighting situation? Even 9 years in, I still get that hard feedback. And you just can't, like, you just look back, you can't let it upset you. You just like, all right, next time I'm going to do better.
No, I cried. And I know that his, and what I say by cry is just because I was like wanting to do good for him. And then, you know, like I didn't want to disappoint him because he's like helping me and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to mess up.
Yeah, the pressure's on.
But the pressure was on. I mean, we're working at like the Breakers, the Addison, the Marriott, like all these places. And, you know, I'm like learning. I didn't even know how to use my flash, just my on-camera flash. So for me, it was like a lot of pressure, but I guess pressure helped me to be better every time.
Pressure
and
makes diamonds, baby.
I never quit. So, which is the other thing that I was talking about to like Christian sometimes.
Let's
I'm like,
finish introducing the rest of the crew. This is
well,
Christian.
we are, but it's still, we are. We're going to go into that. But I just want to say, like, I wanted to quit a bunch of times. So if you are starting in photography or videography, at least for me,
that's every week, dude.
Okay,
that's every week, bro.
I still do this till this
me?
day. I literally call Christian. I've called Duke. I've called all of you actually, and be like, I'm done. Like
there's like a mad client, or you know maybe you didn't go as hard. The client loves the work, but you personally don't love the work, so you think you could do better. Like I've never left a shoot and been like, that was everything that I wanted it to be. Like not one time.
But now we're gonna get into how we found Christian, and it was kind of cute when I first met him.
Well, I met Yoli from Kyle.
Yeah.
So I met Kyle. I used to work at a restaurant for a long time.
If you're in West Palm, you know this.
Yeah. Shout out to Sailfish Marina. You bought me every piece of equipment that basically started off my career, dude.
We
but
love it.
So I met Kyle at Sailfish. I was it's a love hate, but I do love that place.
No, we say we love it.
We do. We love. And I do love that place. But I met Kyle while I was working a banquet. I was banquet captain at the time, and he was just kind of hanging there. And I saw him with the camera. He had his second shooter at the time, which I met way later in the game. But he just came out to me, and I was like,
second shooter?
It was Dash that time, and so we were filming a wedding there, and it was funny. Everybody there was already married, so there was no single ladies, no single guys. It was an airline like stewardess and everything, and the groom he arrives on the boat. So I throw Dash on this boat, and this guy's blowing this bugle coming in, and I seen Christian, and he just inquired, and I said, hey, you know, such and such, and I gave him a card, and I was like, hey, if you're interested in the industry, just reach out.
Literally, during COVID, I ended up reaching out. It got slow at the restaurant. I was like, dude, I got to learn something. And I just bought a camera because when I met Kyle, I hadn't bought my first camera. Okay. And I told him, I was like, no, it was already ordered.
You joined in 2019.
Yeah, it was already ordered. But he was like, you should have gotten an A7 III, which at the time was like this really great full-frame camera that did both photo and video. But I, of course, had already purchased the 6300, which shout out to the 6300. He started that journey, but I quickly like went on to him. He put me through what I would call like the ringer. He gave me like what I would call like 200 gigabytes worth of like both wedding films and learning material, and it was like, if you like, I'll pay you when you're worth something to do. So like instantly in my head, I was like, well, I need to like learn as much as I can as soon as possible because I need money. Yeah. So like anybody who's out there,
that's gonna give you a challenge to push yourself, which is the same thing. Like I knew I needed to make money.
You
And
got
I
to
just
make
kept
money,
challenging
dude.
So I remember we were at in Sarasota filming, and I gave him this camera with a manual lens, and he was like, and my second shooter at the time, he was Brandon, and he was like, yeah, that's how he trains people.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Well, that's
Grab a camera and a
basically
lens and
what-
get ready.
Like, yeah, so
And I
I don't
Tom,
let
he
you
did the same
use
thing.
I don't let you use auto white balance or
Yeah, not even
autofocus.
dude.
You're getting
Not
a
even
manual. You're getting a
autofocus.
manual, and you got to
So
know.
bottom line, if you're starting manual.
Yeah, look, I literally he would tell me, you know, like we went, and he's like, you can't miss focus, and like that was drilled in my head. I can't miss focus, so
there's
I'm.
nothing wrong with autofocus.
There
but
isn't. There's a
manual
time and
focus is
place.
better
Autofocus,
option.
For sure.
fine, but like I'm talking about like your flash and your actual camera.
Everything
like
should be
everything
manual.
else should be
For
manual.
Well, no, the
sure.
thing
All the
about it
settings.
is,
All the
it,
settings, yeah.
so we shoot
Oh,
we
that.
shoot all Sony, and the Sony glass is so sharp that if you're in autofocus, it will pick a hair off a back of a crowd person and will zoom to that, and you will miss
And
that
that's it.
shot
That shot's
completely.
gone.
It's
And to
gone.
say, I'm not trying anybody that uses like TTL and everything. If
Of
it works
course,
for you,
for sure. And like
more power to you.
I do
but
want
I
to say
can't
there's
do
a
it.
tool for every job, dude.
Right.
Like,
There's a difference
you know,
between photography and video.
absolutely.
There is,
There's
yeah.
a total difference. So like I'm not telling everybody out there go start photographing your weddings in manual because you're gonna fail, and I don't want to be a part of that. You know, so like if your
We're
video
gonna call him. His name is Christian. Find
yeah,
him.
but needless to say, Kyle brought me in, and like it was an instant addiction to the money, to the learning, to like the scope of work, and then really where I fell in love with was the collaboration, the meeting of other people who are just like you in the same boat, experiencing something slightly different,
Yeah.
but going through the same struggles. It really brings you together. Even the other day, me and Kyle had like, you know, like a butting of heads, but like the reality is like that kind of stuff builds us better and makes us better and makes us a bigger team and a better
does.
team.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
that's the thing. You're gonna butt heads with your team.
we
I
are.
mean, we've all been together. You know, some of us, 4 or 5 years, and it's like family now.
It's straight up family.
and we
Yeah,
really
it's
don't.
definitely
butt heads once in a while, but we love each other.
I mean, and that's the thing.
it's,
Like,
it's button heads because we want to like push each other more.
sure.
I know Kyle always pushes me, so I'm very thankful for Kyle.
I mean,
P.S. I found him, so get yourself a Kyle. Very thankful for him, but I'm always pushing, and everybody's pushing. I push Duke all the time as well.
I mean, we criticize our team, but we know we're doing it for the best.
Absolutely.
Like, like the other day, I was like, hey, Duke, like we watched the film, and I was like, hey, what was your color tempered at? What was your drone at? And it just gives him a better understanding of this is what we got. And we, like I said, we give this material and training and help everybody because that's what's taking us continuous to that next level. So where we're here.
Yeah. So now we're gonna learn a little bit about how we found our little Fern. This is Fern.
Yolanda called her Vern for the longest.
Vern,
Vern.
our
she
Vern.
did for at least half a year.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You haven't saved the
Yeah,
like
but he kept messing with
VERN.
me because he kept saying Fern, burn. So I didn't really quite know which one it was, but it is Fern.
It was Fern.
And Fern.
Well, not to Christian though. It's a different name, but
Yes,
you know.
you're not allowed to call me Fern.
No,
No.
It's fine.
I don't want to know anything about that.
It's all
It's not bad, but still.
But anyways, we actually Fern was just kind of
Yeah, I'm
adopted
just
into
there.
the team because she was like Christian's little sidekick. So when we went travel somewhere, we went to a wedding, she was just there.
Yeah,
and
I'm
then I
just
was like, can she assist? Like, can she hold a light or something? And then he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I'll pay her to like just help
Be
out.
assistant, yeah.
Assist.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
and she's like, okay, she's here, might as well.
She was there because her phone GPS tracks him everywhere he goes.
Oh, come on.
She's like a little ninja. Like
But
Fern shows
I'm
up.
so
Like
proud
what?
of Fern because Fern? I'm kidding. But she like quickly started learning things and wanted to learn, and soon she just became part of the team. And Christian, I started teaching her some stuff, and she's second shot for me for a wedding.
Yes.
I'm like, I need a little help, just like, can you do it? I'll teach you a little bit. Kind of threw her in there,
Yes,
basically.
basically.
I literally
Yeah.
threw her in there. Pressure. I'm like, whatever you can do, it's fine. I just need a little backup. She did great. I was like, wow, she did.
I mean, that's not the first wedding. The first wedding was with
Yeah.
yeah.
So I remember that.
What are we talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was the
I was
videographer on
Sony.
this,
Yeah.
and she was
Wait,
shooting.
Sony was the
She,
first one.
so
Yeah.
her first wedding, her first experience out of wedding, like for herself, shooting, figuring out a camera, was herself an A7 III with a 35 millimeter. That is it. The whole day.
It was not A7 III.
Was
It was the
Was
one
it the
before.
63?
Yeah.
It was a
think so?
And it
63.
was not. We would not hire.
It was a
and
63.
like-
You was filming on a Blackmagic, and I had my Sony gear, and she was not even the real, like the main
There was a
photographer.
photographer at that wedding.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I don't even know how my camera is setting. I don't know anything, and I was like, I'm gonna
She
wing
didn't
it.
know.
We could-
and
No flash.
There was no flash.
The
She
flash
was shooting.
coming a week later.
She
but-
was shooting all this whole thing. It was
On
nighttime
35.
reception. 1/50th of a second, dude.
Yeah.
Listen, anybody who's out there, I have one rule for you. Please do not. If you're not shooting 4K 24 video, 1/50th of a sec, don't even go there, bro. Like, insane, dude.
That I have no knowledge.
I
She
know.
didn't,
It's
you know.
true.
So we threw her in, like we just literally threw her in just
Yeah.
to see. But
We're-
she's come a long way, and you know now I'm so
Yeah.
proud to say that she's
Totally.
one of our lead photographers, and she does great. And she's
Yeah. And
dabbling into the film with Kyle
Yes.
and
Yeah.
Christian.
And she's on Sony, thank God.
Thank God. Praise
This
Allah.
this man over here was like,
too,
I'm going to
come on.
Canon, blah blah blah, and then the Canons failed on him. So I was
Oh
like,
my
yes.
That's for video.
That's
but
a whole other
Canon
subject that we're
photos.
gonna get into. We all shoot in
It's a
different.
long
we
We're all
all-
different
we are
bodies
all
here,
different
dude.
bodies,
We're
and
all
that is
different
okay
bodies.
to me. I am fine with that. Like that doesn't bother me. Some people are very strict about it. I don't mind that.
I don't mind it.
Like,
Sony
that
is
you
great.
shoot this and I
Canon is
shoot that.
dream. But Canon is dreamy, and Nikon have the like perfect skin color.
They do.
Yeah,
so this
it's
is
true.
why.
The colors
So
are
they have,
fine.
like,
No,
pros
That-
and
I
cons
think
in
now these
everything.
days as the technology grows, all Canon platforms are great.
Yeah,
Just
definitely.
find out what works for best for
Yeah.
you and your style,
Yeah.
and that's what
They're
I would
all
go
great.
with.
It doesn't matter. It's
Like
what
me
you-
personally, I love the Sonys because I can push the ISO without the video grain and low light capability.
low light's
Because
insane.
we're doing weddings, even though we have lights up and everything. There's sometimes we need to run and gun,
Yeah.
and it's
But
easier.
the best thing about all of us having different cameras and everything is that we all get to mess around and pretty much call each other out
And the
on
worst-
everything. Like,
And the worst thing
oh,
is
you
we
have a
can't help
Sony
each
or
other.
you have a Nikon or
There's always
whatever.
beef,
There's
dude.
or
always
what you
be.
do is just you
Always.
buy all the gear and then you eliminate them bringing their gear, so you don't have that problem.
And then there's Kyle. So now,
You could definitely do
yeah,
that.
and there's Kyle. So we're gonna meet Duke.
Yeah,
he is
he's the
newest
grandfather of the
one.
group.
He's the newest one.
He's
of
got
our
the
group.
most
I actually
experience.
wanted to hear this story
We
the
do want
most,
to
to
hear
be
it.
honest.
I don't know. We're gonna see. So
How'd you get in?
we I met Duke through another photographer. I needed an editor like desperately to help out, and that's how I started with him. And then I slowly started realizing that he was more of an asset to our team as far as like knowing film, and you know he does amazing logos, which he made for me on right there. See? Oh yes, he made this one too. Thank you. So yeah,
We corrected him because the line was
it's
off.
no, we had a moment.
Yo,
Everybody has a
come on,
moment.
dude.
Teamwork, you know, we all come
Early
together.
stage.
We had a
It's
moment, but
collaborative
It looks
effort.
good, and that
No, it looks
looks
amazing.
good.
Yeah, and
So
like I
yeah,
said,
he's got his different talents. So Duke, tell us a little bit about how you got started in
In
film.
film.
In film.
Yeah.
I
The 8
graduated film
millimeter.
school, and a long time ago. Not gonna say my age, but
We know you all.
Oh,
they don't.
just saying.
know.
it's the gray hairs right here.
Yeah, so I did my
Over.
little short student film, and then got into music videos and other things similar,
Music videos.
and did that for a while, and then had an opportunity to film some hunting. So we did that, and I started hunting and
Your
fishing brand, basically.
apparel, like,
yeah.
right? Apparel.
Yeah, Native Boys.
Native Boys, which he will be launching soon. So we'll talk about that another time. But Duke is very, what do you say, like talented in creating amazing. I don't know. What do you say? Logos? What do you call
don't
that?
know. What
I
are
don't
you
know.
talking
I don't know. Like for your shirts. What do you call that?
That's graphic design.
Graphic
Design.
design.
There
Thank
you
you.
go.
I'm like drowning. I'm like, Duke.
I don't know.
So what is it called?
He's like, he's good with the pencil
He's
and the
good with
drawing
pencil
and
and the
That's the
drawing
thing.
but on the
thing.
computer.
Whatever.
he's like, I went to film school, but I have artistic skills, so I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he also dabbles into photography, so you know he became my second shooter, and you know I kind of also did a little bit of a Fern situation. I was like, I need a second shooter. Are you willing to go out and shoot? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, all right, let's go. Let's try it out. And he did good. I was
Well,
like, all right.
I did weddings in the past, but
Oh, yeah.
same kind of thing. I never really wanted the responsibility of somebody's special day
somebody's
and
special
messing
day.
it up.
Yeah,
So
it's hard. You have to
kinda
like know what you're doing because
veered
it is somebody's
away from
special
that.
day. But
It's hard.
Duke and I actually worked together in 2015.
unknowingly.
Unknowingly.
Yeah.
At a wedding. I was obviously the photographer. He was doing the film, and we just found out about like a month ago that we did this wedding together. So small world.
Yep.
Here we are.
And we roasted him on how he was holding his camera and everything else
Oh
too.
yeah, totally.
It was funny.
It's fine, you know.
Like we seen it, like what is he doing?
Yeah, like.
What is it? Unconventional ways
I
or
don't know.
no?
He's
This guy, I
holding it
never,
like
I
this.
never seen
No,
this before in
when
my
I was
life,
like,
dog.
This.
I
I
was
wish
like,
I had
what?
this.
She wants to buy a camcorder so bad. Like one of these
You know,
guys.
like I was just like,
so
I want to
bad.
go travel and I want to be like, yo, say hi.
Yeah, you got to get to Zoom. You know, you got the
The power is in
You
it,
can
dude.
zoom into.
Whatever works for you. So he did great.
Best
and
Buy,
it's like,
Sony.
Yes,
They got 'em.
we saw one. We
Yep,
tried
that's
one.
what it
It
is.
actually
It was
like
actually pretty good.
amazing.
Yeah, I would rent them though because they're okay, like the battery life and stuff.
It's
Oh,
great
everything,
for vlogging
yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
It's mostly for
For
travel because
videos.
Well, I
Black
mean-
well,
Magic
the
footage on travel.
AX53
Never
that I've had about
edited.
6 or 7 of them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they're good.
battery life's good, and
Yeah, that's cool.
it's got the gimbal built in the lens and stuff.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, like the stabilization or
I bought the
whatever.
first one.
Yeah. So as far as somebody starting in the photography, videography business, like what do you guys suggest, do's and don'ts, or like what is like something that you think that you could give advice into that?
I would say don't like have a fear of reaching out and feel rejection. Find somebody that you like their style
Yeah.
and see if you can intern with them. I mean, I've talked to people where I've shot with commercials, and even though I have 10 years experience, I'll come back and say, hey, can I just be a personal assistant, hold your lights, just to get that more knowledge to learn.
I
So
agree with that. I feel like, you know, the more you network with other photographers, I'm a photographer, so I network obviously with photographers.
Right.
And learn off of somebody else is
Yeah.
the best thing you can do. So, you know, I've taken personal courses with people to teach me what I felt like I really wanted to learn. So I follow somebody that I thought was like, okay, this is the kind of photography style that I love, and this is what I want to learn. So I reached out to that person, which they'll be coming to this podcast soon, and we're going to talk about that. But you know, they're teaching me what they know, and the best thing about it is that they're not like, oh no, I'm not going to teach them. Like they
Right.
were willing to teach me.
yeah.
And I
But the thing
appreciate
about it is that I feel that there's so many people out there is like, you know, you have to try to pay your dues because like
I can't agree with
You know,
that more, dude.
I say,
I can't
become an
agree with that more.
intern. Like you be willing, because a lot of companies, if you show that effort, they're going to pay you something regardless, even because you're not expecting it. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. Like I went with a shot with a commercial company, a high end production company, where they were doing $30,000 gigs, and for 2 days, and they paid me unexpectedly and sent me the money and said, thank you so much. Our client was so impressed with you. We'd love to have you on other gigs. Showing that and giving that value helps you, because that's a leg in or foot in where you can become a shooter from him, or and then you get that knowledge and learn how to use your camera right or something, and then from there, they might employ you.
So with me, you know, reaching out to this one photographer, I met about 5 or 6 other photographers.
Right.
I ended up going to Shutterfest and meeting so many other people. From there, I met another guy that, you know, he's going to be coming in the show as well. Ended up going to Iceland, and that was an experience on itself. And, you know, I learned a lot on that. So, again, he'll be coming in and talking about that another time. But it's just networking through other photographers and getting to know other styles, because you're always going to learn from somebody else. So.
Definitely.
Right.
Piggybacking on both what you guys said, I think that the 3 things are going to be definitely provide value to whoever you're reaching out to. Because, I mean, I don't know about you, but I just don't have time to give to just anybody. You know, like even my family barely sees me. So if you're going to take someone's time, at least appreciate their time by providing value.
Yeah.
If you're coming in, yes, to hold lights, but also to like, can I shoot behind the scenes for you? Instagram for you? Can I do whatever it is to make you further ahead? Because really what you want to do is have that person in your good grace. So when they do think of an opportunity, you're the person. That's how I continue to grow even my business now. Like the landscape, as as Yolanda said earlier, is not filled with people who want to share their secrets.
Yeah.
It's not. Most people are going to be like, well, I'm barely making money for me and my family. What's going to make me to start someone new, right? So the way to do that is I'm not trying to take from you and whatever you got going on. I'm trying to build you beyond so I can get a little bit of whatever's left, you know? So just continue to build other people's brands. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, with collaborating rather than, you know, competing with one another. And then the other one is sacrifice, dude. You know, like everybody on this chair right here, like they sacrifice things. You know, like we sacrifice holidays,
I feel like I work
everything.
24 hours a day, basically.
For sure. Like I'm sure there's clients right now. They're like, they're not editing my photos because they're here. It's like
I will edit your photos. I promise.
we are, but we're also human, dude. We
human.
also need
we
to
have
like
lives,
do
we
stuff.
have children.
Yeah. So don't think that you're gonna get paid right away. You know, because you're not. And when the money comes, enjoy it, but sacrifice. You know.
Well, I mean, there's certain people out there that don't want to make that sacrifice, where they don't want to, like, they're like, I live in a small town. I'm not willing to travel outside of my city. And I hate to tell you that, but you're not going to gain nowhere because you're not pushing yourself to the limits. You know, I know two of the top cinematographers, and I'm really good friends with both of them now. And they're always gone and always, but they're building that empire. Yeah. And that's where I push my team too. I mean, we don't go all the time, but we've took opportunities where we're filming in the Bahamas. Yolanda went to Iceland, you know, Christian and Fern in New York. I mean, they're going outside of their realm to take it to that next level.
New York next year.
Let's go.
Let's go.
So I mean, that's the one thing about it is that, you know,
and also anyone can do this.
Right.
Like I'm by no means a savant with cameras. Like Kyle met me when I legit didn't know a thing. I'm like, where do I point this thing? Is literally what I told him.
Right.
Nowadays.
Why, Fern?
What do you mean? Like when you have beautiful couple and you don't get the exact shot that you want,
Yes,
just
that
go
is
home
true.
and, like, cry for the next week and just like
It is true.
I'm
You have
trash,
your days where you
But
feel like you could do
so
better.
one thing I
Even
remember,
though I'm sure you did amazing.
She killed it.
I remember when like Christian first started, and I reviewed his footage, and he came over, and I deleted everything in there, and I was like, "Oh, this is completely garbage."
100%.
And he was like, and I was like, "Let's try next week."
Yeah.
You know, and the thing about it is, like Christian, he took the initiative outside of working with us. He decided to, I'm going to study 24/7 to get better, to make that sacrifice, improve him. So he was not only working 70, 80 hours job at that time, but he was also going home and studying to get to better. So by like 4 weddings in, he was like at that second shooter level where we could use him and push him for.
Ooh, holding on that. So it took me a long time to decide when the right time was to quit. When did you guys think that it was time to go, like, this is my main job? Like, what at that point where you're like, this is important enough to start sacrificing things for? Where like, I'm going to start calling off work for this. I'm going to start not going to work for this. Like, this is my career. When was that like
I think for me it was just when so like I said, I didn't start with weddings, but I just, my life path just went that way in a way. And I just realized that I was just good at that. And that I really, really enjoyed it. And that I really loved it. And I just like, it just became like fun for me. And I loved it. And I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt like I could make good money just by pushing myself and learning more and more and more to where I get to where I want to be. And I'm still pushing more. Like, this isn't it.
Yeah.
I'm still pushing more.
Of course.
So I think.
Congrats, Kyle. You just went full time.
Well, but here's my thing though. Yeah, I kind of went full time, but over the last several years, me and Yolanda, we built a very comfortable empire business. So with that being said, I think not only one of my mentors, but the conversation me and Christian have, where it said, you will not get rich working for someone else. That's kind of where, and then about a month ago, I was streaming stuff. Like, I like to watch some motivational business empire things. And Bill Gates came out and said, if you're born poor, it's not your fault. If you die poor, it is. That's where I was like, you know what? That's where I'm pushing myself, you know? And I think the biggest thing for our humans we have is, number one, we have fear, and sometimes we have lack of confidence.
Definitely fear.
100%.
And that's where I've just learned to be like, you know what? I'm throwing my packages out there. That's what it is, because I know what I'm bringing. I know what my team brings. So therefore, you like it or you don't, you know? And because we live in a state, in an industry where there's over 300,000 brides that get married in a year. I don't care if you're the #1 cinematographer in the world. You're not doing every wedding.
100%.
No.
And
Nor do you want
and the thing about it is, two years ago, me and Christian, we did 77 weddings, 68 weddings, and we were basically like in the Florida Keys, filming 10 hours plus a drive. Had to be in Tampa to shoot an Indian wedding. There was no sleep.
There was no sleep.
Literally.
We shot
you guys are crazy.
we shot 16 hours at the Indian wedding. I'm driving back, and we passed this mile marker, and I'm like, this thing is not going down. And Christian's like, I promise you it is.
This 3 times. I'm like, dude, I'm literally counting the numbers.
I'm like,
We're good.
48 hours with no sleep. We get finally home, and we're like not doing it again. Then very next year, we did it again.
They did do it again.
And
I
we're going
was
to do
a
it again
witness.
this year
And
too,
they
bro.
did
We're going to do it again.
So
So you could get ready for that, dude. Because
that's the thing with us in our drive, is that we wake up every morning with $0, and we go out and say, how can we make money that day? If we don't make money, then the next day we have to double that money.
Yeah, or like triple or quadruple.
Right.
That's how it is. It's almost like a state of debt that you're feeling.
Yeah.
Right? Constantly.
I know, but not everything is about money.
It's
You
not
gotta
all
have a
about money.
realization.
It's not. But
But if you want to quit your job, it's about the money.
So I'm
Well,
gonna go into something else.
Yeah.
So like again, and then we're gonna talk about other things. But for right now, what would you suggest as somebody starting? What would be your like top thing to learn? Like top thing for your
know your camera.
Ooh,
Yes.
that's a
Equipment.
really
That-
good.
Lighting too, everything.
I feel
Yeah,
like
for
lighting,
video,
lighting,
lighting
for me.
is important, but
I think-
know your
yeah,
camera
that's a great
and
one.
put your go around your house and look at the windows. Try low light, natural light, different cinematic like shots and moves. Practice on your significant other or somebody.
Yeah.
I feel
Different
I feel
lighting is definitely important, just because. I mean, as a wedding photographer, you're put into so many certain scenarios.
yeah, but now
You don't know,
now
like,
the technology is so good. We
still-
can control
it's
the
still-
weather
still-
and the daylight.
Yeah, but not as somebody like starting that doesn't know. Like you're learning just the basics. Like it's very important to know those things without all the the other.
But your
technology
camera,
stuff that
because your
Know
camera is your main
equipment
tool.
in general.
Yeah, exactly.
Troubleshoot your equipment, because
Right.
like there's times your flash ain't gonna work. There's times
Audio
your light's not
levels,
gonna work. There's
Yeah.
time your
Testing.
audio ain't gonna work.
Yep.
Like have your oh shit moments covered, and literally knowing your equipment is like
Okay, so speaking of like that, what was like the one thing that has happened to you in your career that you were like you said, oh shit, that
shit.
you were like, oh my God.
I did not shoot on 2 cards.
that's all 1000%,
Card
dude.
failure.
Card
Yeah.
failure.
Yes.
Get
had
two
that.
I
cards,
had-
bro.
So,
So-
this wedding, I basically rent a camera, because this beautiful couple rent a camera, and apparently I didn't know that the camera going to take so much space on my SD card, and it ran out. So I used my second card and formatted and start shooting again, and portion of the family portrait was gone, and it sucks. So
Yeah.
but then I also blame it on Christian. He
Oh,
didn't
it's
give
your
me
fault.
extra card.
It's your fault. It's your fault.
I did
Oh,
on that wedding take cards that I did not need.
Yes, he used Kyle card.
For
and it
mine
was-
literally
was,
ended up
I,
using-
I put the battery to charge. And you guys are gonna be like, okay, Yolanda put her battery to charge. I did. I didn't click it in correctly that night, and then I went to the wedding, and I got to the wedding, and
10%.
Dude, not having battery
So
is
what'd
like
you
my
do?
nightmare, bro.
I had another one that was like half, and this was when I was starting, so not like now. This was a long time ago. I had one camera, one lens, 2 batteries, like the minimal of
It's like
what
her
I
now still.
like
Seems
literally
like.
the minimal. So thankfully, the one had just enough to where I can charge the other one, and I just like back and
Yes.
I
forth
had to
Always
shoot
bring-
just
until I
like
could like
that,
get through
bro.
the wedding.
Yeah.
But I was like free, literally I couldn't breathe because I'm like, oh my God.
Yep.
But it happens. Like you make mistakes, and now I know.
What
like,
about you, Kyle?
So there's a couple, there was 2 incidents. One, a bride decides to walk down this pier, direct sun, and it looks like she's just a complete, like, this big orb just coming to me. Like, I blew her out so much because I was like, I couldn't see in the sun, and I'm like cranking up the ISO, and I just blew her out. So you got the whole walk. And then the other one is when I decided never to use the autofocus at ceremony once again, because shooting with the Sony 7200 G Master, the photographer walks right in front,
hooks it, done.
and picks up her, and the bride is not in focus, and that camera is done.
What about
And-
you, Duke? Anything?
No, I don't mess up.
Oh,
at
you don't
all.
mess up.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, we can show one of the films that he did. Let's pull it up on our phone right now.
Let's see. Let's see. Come on, you gotta have something.
Mainly card failure.
Card failure.
Yeah,
that's
right.
worse.
All right.
I mean, but now there's a lot of program that can recover
Yes,
cars,
and
so that
I've
should be
been
no
there too,
problem.
and I've literally have not been able to breathe, like hives, like the whole thing.
Also, one more thing, have a backup cameras, because we were at a wedding one time. It was so hot outside. It was Catholic wedding, and it was outside, and then one of our camera overheat,
Yeah,
and
that's literally what I was
in the
gonna
middle
say.
of ceremony, and it was kind of like
Yeah.
a panic attack.
Stress
heat.
test your camera.
So
gear.
definitely,
Yeah.
so like I said, when I first started photography, like I could only afford one camera, one lens, and a flash. So definitely have another one, because that happened to me. I had, thankfully that day at this wedding, I had a second shooter. Again, this was when I was starting and, dabbling in everything. And my shutter went on my camera. Like, it died. Like, right as the bride and groom were getting ready to dance. And I'm like, oh my God, like freaking out. So I told my second shooter, I'm like, you have got to cover, like, which is why you need a second shooter. She covered. Thank God, because
And also nowadays, yo,
Oh, it
pull out
doesn't
that iPhone, dude.
well, nowadays,
Pull up that
this was 12
iPhone.
years
No,
ago.
don't do that.
I can guarantee you right now, I grab 3 couples of my past and I take an iPhone photo and they ask which one came from my camera. They don't know. If it's not shot with an 85,
Unless
they
you're-
don't
I don't know about
know.
that.
They don't
Unless
know.
you're at an
Don't
Indian
listen to
wedding,
that's not-
and they
Don't
listen to this.
him. That's not
We're at an
true.
Indian wedding.
No.
Christians, I'm gonna blame lack of sleep. The guy comes up and says, take a photo. This guy's got the camera lens on, and the guy points it out and calls him. He's like, oh, Christian says, oh, this camera's
Yeah.
broke.
Good,
Let me
dude.
go get another one. Oh, but I tell you a
This was
story.
that
I tell you
same one.
about camera failure. Remember when we was at that Addison and the photographer's camera fails, and he had to use one of our Sonys to
Straight up.
shoot the rest of the wedding?
Oh
Like he only had one camera and it failed.
Yeah.
And if we said no,
He was done.
he was done.
He was done.
So what we, so network with people and be willing to help,
Yeah.
because you never know what that can
And
bring
also,
them later in life.
I understand you have bills to pay, but if you
afraid to rent as
don't be
well.
afraid to
Don't-
rent,
don't-
but also
you don't have to buy it. Just
no,
rent it. the
rent
camera
talent
you
though.
need.
Like
Yeah.
rent talent, dude. If you see
that's-
someone's
that
work,
too.
dude, invest in your portfolio.
Yeah.
If someone's better
Yeah.
than you, dude, hire them, and that's part of your work now. They're not gonna know. It's your company's work, so do that. Kyle, literally the first thing Kyle taught me was like, dude, if you're not sure about a project,
Make
figure
the
out
sacrifice.
budget, make that sacrifice. You don't get paid that project, but you make that project look real good.
Exactly.
So
I mean,
now we're gonna switch into something else, because we've been talking a lot about like starting photography and everything, but I want to turn it into more of like our brides and grooms, or anybody that's looking for photography and videography. Like, what should they look into when you're hiring a photographer or a videographer?
Question.
And that's huge.
That's
a
hard.
Hire people with a backup plan. I think the first question you should say is like, if you are sick tomorrow, who's shooting my wedding? Because that shit happens. And when that happens, is the person coming as good as they are? And if not, what's the deal? Like, what's the relationship between them? Everybody here shoots for each other. You know, we can trust each other on that level.
Definitely can trust
and that's
them,
something that I tell my clients. Like,
Yeah.
they go like,
I'm human. I'm gonna get sick one day, and I'm gonna have to have
That's
a
all we can
backup.
yeah, or an
and
emergency
an
comes up,
emergency,
dude.
Which
you know?
it's happened. I mean, I had an emergency. Like, my son was in the hospital last year, and I had to have Christian fill for
Or
me.
you double book.
Or we sometimes.
Of
we
course, but definitely that's
Way
a
to
question
throw me
you should
under the bus there, Christian.
I'm not rude.
But it does
Fell off.
happen.
cut that part.
Cut that part.
no, what's bad is
Nobody
whenever there's
ever
like,
double books. It never happens in the photography or videography.
yeah, it's like whenever you're like, You know, like all of a sudden leads are not coming in, and you're like, oh my god, and then they start to come in, and like literally,
are booked,
like
dude.
I've already got we already got our team stretched, and I had another bride that was like, oh, is this date available? And I'm now like, oh, I got to turn you away. And it's a good amount of money package that she's pushing,
Yeah,
but
for
you
sure.
you just like, it's not worth having 3 weddings on one day. You know, like if you have a big team like we do,
It's
you could
good,
do
yeah.
2, but 3, I would never push it. And I've been in the situation where I've worked with companies that are like 3, 4 weddings, and then next thing you know, something's going to go wrong. And
For sure.
then
And then you're working with way less margin of error because
Right.
now it's like you're doing volume brands, so you're charging cheaper, your bills are still super high, and as you grow that monster, all of a sudden one thing can turn you into bankruptcy, and that's something you should be thinking about
Yep.
like all the time.
So
Right
as far
here.
as like
True.
on the
Bride
day
and
of your wedding, let's say, what do you think is the most important for brides and grooms to focus on when they're hiring a wedding photographer? And what I mean is, for me, I think like timelines are huge. I think
Okay.
wedding planners are huge because they're making sure everything kind of stays
Yes,
where it's
that is
supposed
like
to
a
be.
must.
At least bare
you
minimum
think
day
at
of
Trust
least,
coordinating.
your
yes.
photographer. You hired them for a
That
reason.
too. Trust your
Listen
photographer,
to
which
them.
I'm so thankful. Like my brides and grooms are literally the best, and they really do trust me. So I really, really, really appreciate that. But yeah, I trust your photographer. Definitely, I personally like to do my own photography timeline. I love that my planners do theirs, but I like to do my own just for photography, just so they know where I'm going to be throughout the day for myself. And for myself and my team, I send it to them as well,
for
so they
sure.
know
And
what's
brides
going
and grooms,
on.
don't drink too much, please. We know
Definitely
it's a great.
don't
Yes.
drink too much the day before. The
Or
day
the
of
day
is
of.
fine.
Day of, even no.
Day
dude.
of too. We've had those moments.
Grooms,
After the ceremony
please,
is
no
fine.
shots, bro. Just whatever
After
you
the
do, no
ceremony is
shots.
fine.
Shots.
yeah, I was gonna say that.
I mean, you can have a few drinks, but just don't take it to the next level. After you do all your pictures, have a good time.
For sure.
I would say the biggest thing is try to have everybody where everybody communicates, because I remember there's so many times where like it might not be our team shooting, and I'll reach out, I'll send the photographer a introduction to me and tell them what time I'm getting there, and it's like crickets.
Yeah.
The wedding planners are most of the time okay. They'll tell you what's going on, but just reach out to everyone just to create just a email and just copy everybody and to introduce everybody. So we say, I did our part. We communicated. Now, what we like to do for video side is if I see a photographer, it's not our photographer like Yolanda, I'm getting there an hour early, because then that gives me the opportunity to pull the dress, the shoes, the shots that I want.
I always get there an hour early too. Like I learned that when I first started, which is a great point. Like when I first started, I would get there. Oh, I'm 6 hours. Okay, I'm gonna get there at 3. That's when the wedding starts. Well, big mistake. I learned through my mistakes to get there at least an hour before, because that just gives me some time to get my
Breathing
head
room.
back,
Get yourself,
my head in the game, and set up my lighting, because I do off camera and stuff, and talk to the bride, and and start early. Like why not? Like you're there for the whole day, might as well.
Right. So yeah, and that's one thing.
A lot of makeup artists.
Yeah, dude, makeup for real. Listen, I love every makeup artist we
We
ever
do
did.
love every makeup
But
artist.
if anything is going to run late on the day,
it is makeup
it's
and hair.
makeup.
It's
So
makeup.
do not skimp on just having one. Oh, this girl's quick. She's gonna get all 10 of my girls done. She's not.
No, at
She's
least
not.
have
And
two.
No,
who's
and
gonna
that's
serve
why
her?
Not
I'm
her
glad.
fault.
Yeah, I'm glad
Yeah,
that he's
it's-
saying that, because I'm gonna have some amazing makeup artists coming in and talking about that, and how we can make it better so that you guys stay on the timeline, and like you said, one makeup artist might not be enough. And I know a lot of the girls that I've worked with have multiple girls, and that's
Definitely.
important, especially when you
Yeah,
have
because
10
each
people in a-
girl takes about an hour. Let's say
For
30 minutes
sure.
hair,
Yeah,
30 minutes makeup, and we've been in situations where
It's not
we've
just
worked with
girls,
certain makeup
like
artists,
moms.
and next thing you know, they're behind, they're stressed, and then they're not in the game, and it stresses
Yeah,
the
it
bride
definitely-
out.
yeah.
So,
you
yeah,
can
so
see it in the film. You
one
can see it in
point
the
is
photo.
On her
if-
face.
Yeah, you can see it on her face.
Yes,
Straight up. You can see it on her
100%. So
face.
if you have a lot of girls, make sure that whoever you're hiring as a makeup artist has more people. And I'm just saying that as what I've witnessed. I know nothing about it. Clearly, I was not good at makeup stuff. But we will have actual makeup artists come in and talk to you a little bit more about all that stuff and give you advice. The other thing that I would think that is most important to me is, and I'm having this problem right now, sunset time. I know everybody wants to get married at sunset, and it's beautiful, and I get it, the beautiful sun and the whole thing, but I need time to photograph. I can't photograph in the dark, so please give me at least an hour to like do your shots for family.
30 is
No,
like,
not 30.
Dude.
I need an hour because if you have a bridal party, if it's only the bridal
Oh,
party,
you're talking about like
I thought it
all.
was
family.
romantic.
No. I have family and then the bridal party and then the bride and groom, and I have 20 minutes. And I work fast, but I can't do all that in 20 minutes.
I would say,
know
listen,
somebody
it's your wedding
can.
day.
I mean, I can,
sacrifice.
but why? I want to
the
give them
family
more.
photos, right?
I want to give them as many
That's not
images.
true.
Like,
At least the bride.
they're
I get
cutting
it.
themselves out for me to do what I really.
Well,
whole
I mean,
reason they hired you.
and that's the thing.
Yeah,
you just
exactly.
gotta, but I think the planners are a lot of times the one that kind of rushes that, and we worked at places where
But that's if
they
you-
have a day of
If
planner,
they have a planner,
or
sometimes
they have
don't
a planner,
So
and
I
the
think
planner's
the
like,
couple that I'm dealing with right now don't have a planner.
right,
And I have told them this, so I'm gonna try to convince them into a first look because that's your other option, obviously. But some people want to keep it traditional, so
Right.
You know, and I understand that, but
yeah, like I said, but that's the thing. Sometimes you like the planner's like, oh, I got a set schedule because they're not there the entire day. They're only there like 3 or 4 hours, and they want to go home. And we witnessed it working weddings where they're like, oh,
them
I'm ready to
tired,
go.
all of
Hot,
them.
whatever.
And you know, and they're like, oh, well, dinner's got to be served at this time, and toast's got to be done at this time, and
Yeah, be flexible. The day
Right.
is very
It's all
fluid.
about you.
It's
well,
very
and that's
fluid.
why I never put a timeline of how many hours I'm there for your film, you know, because I know things are going to go wrong.
Yeah.
So but on average, we're there anywhere from 8 to 10 hours, you know,
True.
shooting because I want to be able to deliver the best film possible, so and capture over the moments, so you know we can not jip out on certain
It's
things.
true, but if you're gonna be doing something like that, I think you definitely got to be charging for something like that.
Oh,
Because if
yeah.
you don't charge and you're giving out your full day, like I'm telling
Agree
you,
on that
at the
too.
beginning,
Yes,
it
I
seems
agree with
cool
that.
and you're like
Yeah.
whatever, but then becomes this like sense of remorse after some time where it's like I'm here and they just don't appreciate my time, and you'll start to see too, like.
Right.
As the higher budget goes, like the people and the appreciation for your work goes up because your clients are spending more money.
Yeah.
So they're gonna find a reason for
certain
you to be
extent.
awesome though.
I mean, I've had clients spend a good amount of money, and then they're like, all right, thanks, peace.
Well, true, but they've got their value. Like, you know, they thought for them that portion of money was probably nothing, but still, like, you're not getting what you get at the lower end.
Right.
Like, you know, like I'm sure every person here and every person listening has had a client that's spending a little bit of money, but they think that they're getting everything. They're getting the works from you, bro.
Right.
You know, they're hitting you up on text message, personal line. They're giving you phone calls. They're talking.
Well,
for 2
and
hours,
and that's the best thing. What I would
You
say
also gotta
is,
set boundaries.
Also
well,
true.
what I do is that I had my contract written by a professional lawyer team. So every time they hit me up with a message like, oh, how long is until my film? I copy and paste where they signed right above where the deliverable is.
Yeah, which is
And-
it's
and
a
I
good
show 'em.
point
It's
from
super
Kyle,
true,
just
bro.
because yes. So one, if you are starting your business, I highly suggest to have a contract.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We've had people that we've
We
dealt
didn't,
with.
you
in
didn't
our-
have the first wedding and
Yeah.
we got fucked.
Yes, you have to like
It's
have
true.
a contract
You gotta
because
contract.
you
Yep,
can
most
get
definitely.
into some serious stuff. And then if you are a bride and groom, read your contract. It is there for a
Totally.
reason. It tells you everything. It tells you how long, you know, till you get your film or photos. Anything that is in there is important. Thank you so much for joining me and my team, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.